Чи мав би бути Лесь на зв'язку на Zoom?
There should be another Oles on Zoom.
He's not there.
He's not there as yet. So you're supposed to have Oles on Zoom. When he...
У нас ще має бути Лесь Виноградов.
We are supposed to have Les Vynogradov on Zoom, but there are just 5 of us. Greetings to everyone. So the logic of this part, so previously we talked about 90 minutes about futurism, optimism, and about collaboration horizontally and what we lack to work together and how we can unite. And all these people who are here, we are thankful to them because they can share certain cases and ideas how in their art practice this was applied. But prior to that, I would like to warm us up. Les, hello. Can you hear us? Yes, I can hear you. Hello. So how are you? I'm great. So I'm inspired by everything that I heard today. I listened to you since early morning, and I'm happy to be with you, at least virtually. So we will start with you. I already mentioned it in the first part. When we talk about the future, about recovery, how can we explain why cultural recovery is no less important than the economic recovery, and how to explain that the culture is important? So if I'm the first to answer, I would focus on about who we have to explain it to, because I don't think we have to deliver this message to us, but I am performing now. I'm now abroad, so I can use this question about how we can explain it to people from abroad, and maybe how to explain it to Ukrainian authorities, because I often hear from colleagues that it's difficult to get the message across to the state authorities and to make sure that the investments are made into the culture. I don't think that I will have a super innovative idea, but if to talk about the culture as a kind of tool, what is the function of culture? And this tool is first and foremost about the cultural diplomacy. This is something that I have been doing for some time. I think that the simplest way to explain why we need to have culture within the recovery framework, it's necessary to say that the level of support beyond Ukraine and the level of understanding of us and level of love to us, it's directly proportional to people understanding our culture and our art. So I think that basically the culture is a kind of glue that glues together different communities and which helps people abroad to understand Ukrainians better. But it is also the meter of our being recognized, of our status beyond Ukraine. How this is the meter of how much we are respected, how much we are understood. And I think Ukraine is supported because it's not a light thing to do, easy thing to do. And it was particularly noticeable back in 2022. They could see injustice of what was happening, but this energy, this spirit was depleted from different perspectives, as I can feel it. And you cannot use this energy for a long time. But what is left at the end, these are just personal sentiments towards us Ukrainians. And I think these sentimental feelings are based on personal relationship or on the basis of culture that people can interact with or consume And from this sense, culture is an indispensable aspect of being recognized and understood, acknowledged, and people beyond Ukraine should be incorporated in this recovery and reconstruction. Since it will not happen without external investments, because Ukraine will not be able to afford it. That's why this is highly topical for us, so that our problems are understood and felt, not just because it's this right thing to do, but because they have some personal relation or affiliation with it. I will come back with the same question to you, but it's like in O. Henry about the secret community, but then we forgot what it was. Well, of course, we understand ourselves why the culture is important, but when we say it doesn't have a proper verbal form, so we can lose the sense. So, Zhenya, how do you explain it to the city authorities when you fight for funding?
How I can explain that? I think in the format of different applications for financing, and I would like to say that we are as a post-bellum Ukrainian one, so we apply not for the cultural grant or programs with our cultural events. That is due to the fact that my position is that we need to position this culture element as an mandatory component in all the soft and hard recovery of Ukraine. We have newly created communities which consist of different people with different backgrounds, and maybe I cannot offer more efficient and more familiar tool rather than the range of different cultural practices which could be the environment for the creation of these communities. So, and it's not just about some elements of luxury, as we feel that is a kind of a cherry on a pie when we've covered when we addressed all the needs and then we can allocate money for that. No, that's the first priority need. And during the media forum, there was Aida Cherkas, and she was talking with Kateryna Botanova about what do they feel their experience through the 30-year perspective, the Sarajevo experience, and they were both talking about the interest towards culture, especially with people when you fight for your life, but you have full house in theater. So it's how does it work? It's a simple thought, but you have to be mindful of that. So this is why we are really different from animals. It's something which is inside of us. We cannot postpone that. So whenever people need to use the hard parts so that they can be the local businesses and NGOs, etc., there should be this community, there should be this interaction between them, and therefore I think that the cultural practices have to be seen in this paradigm and not like a kind of fun that we offer. I remember the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, kind of dim and distant past. But yeah, that was a question, culture or economy? And the answer was economy. And after the 30 years, we feel the answer. We answer. So culture is really important. It also why we are different because of the culture. It also our strengths and understanding. Why do we need all of it? Pauline, you not look happy? Yeah, I'm just rolling this in my head and trying to find the answer. And it's not an answer, it's a kind of definition, which I heard in the lecture of Robert Sapolsky for the second time today. Yeah, so he says that culture. I think that it's a great thesis how to communicate the importance of culture on the local level, minimum, because when we say that we need good genes in our kids, what's our input? Yes, these good genes can be in our descendants, but still not on the physiological level. So why do we need to invest into upbringing, into education, into everything which sets this components, sets the foundation for this component? So while talking about the international communication, about the importance of culture here, I like to have less accentuated the word interaction, because for me, culture is the space for the common interaction. So and if we need to have this common language, we need to build it up through the culture. We need to build up this space. Otherwise, as for me, even though we want to talk about on the level of economy or other levels, so we really need to have these points of contact to build up this dialogue. And I think culture is a good common ground. From the economic terminology, I can add that for those who are totally ignorant of the humanitarian approach, we can use the explanation that every economy has to have good human capital, human resources. I don't like this term and to use it and apply it in the humanitarian area, but when it is about who is going to develop this economy and what this economy is going to look like, yeah, we always will talk about people who will work, people who will create some added value, and culture, again, that's one of the elements through education, through other practices, how to enhance the level of the human resources so that we can have creative industries or innovative industries development. Yuliya, do you want to add something? One thing I want to add is that if we try to contrast culture and economy, I would like to say that culture brings senses to this money. I was very cunning because Albertina continues to draw. So are you out of paper? Yeah, we were talking about the methodology book, a leaflet, a kind of visual leaflet, how to explain the importance of culture. All right. We have 1 hour in our disposal, and I'm not going to steal it. So our panels were more or less theoretical. Right now, we're going to have case by case. Therefore, Les, right now, your presentation. Please share the screen. And I will just sit side by side, not to cover it on the screen. 1 second. Interesting. Okay. Can you see my screen? Not only you, it's more than enough, but still you have presentation. Can you see my slides? Yeah, we can see it. Great. It's difficult for me to think in theoretical dimensions. So I wanted to show you the case. It's pretty concrete about what we've been doing recently with the Kyiv Contemporary Music Days. That's the organizations I'm pretty actively cooperating with. So maybe you will take advantage of it, I hope. So it would be good for you to see what are the interesting things going on. So on this photo, you had the event, which happened like 2 weeks ago. That was the third and the final event in the series from Berlin ensemble KNM in the Music Days event. So that was a kind of stir. It caused a stir. More than 70. We expected 50 people, but we gathered 70. And I would like to say that 80% of people were foreigners of different origins, not Ukrainians. The program of this concert consisted of the new contemporary music, Ukrainian music, the one that was created especially for this concert. It was free concert. It was the Sunday evening, and people have a lot of things to do, of course. Lichtenbras, that was the place where we hosted that on Sunday evening. So people really need to be motivated to join this event. Therefore, it was great to see so many people. So for this concert, we ordered artists to 4 composers from Ukraine: Alla Zahlikevich, Renata Sokachik, Mr. Saprikit, and Alexei Shmurak. Apart from the concert itself, there was also an exhibition of these interviews with each of the composers. So this kind of contemporary project, we managed to do it thanks to Mr. Thomas, who is the manager of the ensemble. He's a great friend of Ukraine, and generally he's a very active culture manager who is very much interested in political aspects of music. Whether it is not actually obvious in the world of new contemporary music, because traditionally this realm exists in kind of parallel universe. It's very academic area. So, and the fact that Thomas really was interested to do that, that is one of the reasons why we organize such an event. It was his idea. He was teamed up with the colleagues. We together applied for this. We together compiled the program. And right now, I would like to mention how it happened in the way that 2 weeks ago, where Ukrainian music was played, we had so many people, foreigners, those who were interested in that. A KNM Berlin on a group it's pretty famous ensemble operating from 1988. They very professional, top world professionals, musicians who are interested in the modern contemporary music. And for the last 10 years, this ensemble works with the political topics, especially the focus of their attention was Taiwan. And my personal interpretation is that the experience working with Taiwan helped them to have better understanding of Ukrainians after 2022. And our cooperation with this group started in 2022 when Albert Saprekin, the co-founder of the event, was a resident of the ensemble within the program Aldorferness Berlin. And one of the outcomes of such collab was the series of event Kyiv Contemporary Music Days in Berlin in 2023. So we had the concert in Villa Elizabeth in Berlin, pretty great hall where this group performed, especially with Ukrainian Nazary Stets as a solo performer. So we used the works of the contemporary composers and also famous works of international stage. So that was a pretty successful cooperation, and the next year we received a grant from Culture Helps and from one German organization, and we organized the series of workshops for the kids and teenagers. So they were organized in Kyiv and Berlin. In Kyiv, they were primarily focused on the IDPs families, internally displaced families. In Ukraine, these were all of the Ukrainian kids and teenagers could apply for the workshops. So in this group, this ensemble, KNM cooperated with us. We organized workshops where the new music works were created. So professional musicians were interacting with kids, with teenagers, they together to compose new music. So that was very, very interesting experience and very productive project. Thanks to this project, it was possible to organize another event this year. So Thomas was familiar with us. He organized to apply for the funding in 2025. We managed to organize the project K&M Contemporary Reconstruction. So the first part, it was the series of workshops for kids and teenagers in the Forum of Science and Games. Then we had the concert in May in one of the famous stages in Berlin, where the works of contemporary composers were performed, the composers from Taiwan, South Korea, and Ukraine. And also there was a separate program of Ukrainian composers from 1960s, from Hrabowski, Volodymyr Zahorsky, and others. There was one work which was sounded in Berlin in 1968. So the third part happened 2 weeks ago, as I mentioned. My ideas on that, so why it was successful and why annually it has to continue. So to my mind, it's very important to understand this timeline. So it should be the long-term idea. So it's good that we need to have this long-term relationship. So what happened in 2022? These were the reactive small projects. When people felt this injustice, they wanted to support Ukraine and Ukrainians. And so we remained in this field, we continued working with them, and it was possible for us to create new projects. And we earned the reputation inside Berlin. So we were addressed not only as to the Ukrainian identity holders, but as equal partners. We earn their trust. And this is the key thing which we can earn during the long-term relationships. And it always needs time. So the second idea, it's about expression, that your idea has to be perceived abroad. It is necessary that someone from within, from other countries, have to be supported. So it has to be supported by the foreigners themselves. So what happened on May 11? People showed up, and not because it was written like that's the concert of Ukrainian music. No, it was because the group, the ensemble, was performing, and those musicians, they earned the trust of the audience. And later on, they learned that that would be Ukrainian music. So they learned that down the road. Of course, they learned something new. They watched interviews with the composers, but we packed that initially under this. We didn't indicate it initially that it would be only Ukrainian content. So that was kind of marketing strategy. But if we want to attract foreigners, we have to follow such a lead. All right, so right now I would like to mention my final thought. We talked today a lot about the culture. We need to co-create this culture. Yeah, we must give something. We Ukrainians, activists, artists, cultural activists, yeah, we need to give something, not just to ask for something. And the success of the projects can be defined by the interests of our partners. So we have to engage them, we have to attract them, we have to co-create this value. So, and that's, I think it's all from me. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Les. It was great. I wanted to mention that according to the program 5:30, we have the takeaways from this day, but I think we can sacrifice this time so that everyone will have time to present their projects. So any questions to Les, or we can move on? Polina, do you want to pitch your ideas of your projects? No presentations from me. Yeah, we have informal. It's just Les is online, so he decided to have the presentation. Sorry for that. All right, thank you. I think before presenting my project or idea of my project, which is being prepared to apply for the financing, I would like to share just my observations of the foreign projects and also about how we need to talk about Ukraine. I really like this idea of Les about the co-creation. I like the argument about to give, not just to ask for, and to attract Ukrainian partners as well. Because even right now, when we talk about large projects, which are considered to be international ones, and we have different countries involved. We have foreign money coming for them. I mean, the majority of the financing is coming from the abroad. It's what's not attractive and it's not honest. I would call it like that. Because it's important to understand that, yes, Ukraine is taking a great part in such projects. So therefore, we have to step back from like only me. We were discussing the mopping the floor in the previous panel, and I agree with that. Yeah, we have to talk over the mistakes, but also we can be in the trap where people can be afraid to make a mistake. So they would rather not include Ukraine in their program rather than be in a potential danger. So I think that we are becoming a pretty like not friendly, ready to set a fire. So we do not attract people to co-create something. We really want to teach them something, to show them their mistakes.
Recently, I was at the theater conference. I work in the sphere of modern dancing, and I was in Berlin at the theatrical conference, the biggest network, international network, and there was not a single topic connected to Ukraine. And this conference was supposed to be really, really safe, so that not a single word or controversial topic or none of tension was experienced there. And I think we also have to avoid this trap and form more attractiveness to cooperate with us. You are not visible. Could you please move 30 centimeters in front of you? I don't have to be visible. It's good that you can hear me. When I was thinking about the project that I'm about to speak a few sentences, I was thinking about the term identity, because we talk a lot about the Ukrainian identity and we use this term a lot. This is a kind of already a bit outdated word, but we usually focus on the fact that identity is something that differentiates us, and we forget about the primary meaning of the word. This is something that unites us, something that means similarity. And when I think about international projects which also aim at promotion of Ukraine, I think that we need to find identities that unite us with our international partners. And the project that I have in mind, it's about this uniting identities and about Kentsui technique, culture, thanks to culture. This is an international cooperation project between Germany, Poland, and Ukraine. themed to modern dancing. And it's all about our working with our common experience of the war, which has to take the most constructive things from this experience. This is something that unites us, but this is also something that is kept silent. This is traumatic experience for all of these countries, for different generations. And of course, I'm not saying that the country was an aggressor country and Ukraine is a victim. I'm just saying that as a society, we experienced similar traumas. And we are trying to cope with them in different ways. So the idea of the project lies in gathering everyone in different rooms in different countries and look into the eye of the problem and talk it through and try to identify what we can learn from each other. The idea of the project was the result of the citation of Pina Bausch, which she used at the Kyoto Prize Award. Everything that I saw and lived through in my childhood found its reflection on the stage and in everything that I was doing. When she was 4, she was brought up in Zolingen city, which was bombed heavily. And in her memoirs, she was describing this experience that Ukrainian children are experiencing now. This is going to shelter, constant air sirens. So if she was a kind of innovator at this time, then our generations of artists and future generations of artists, they can also introduce these innovations in art. And how can we exchange the experience with Germany when it comes to recovery? And how we can make these current practices topical into their a bit dusted and forgotten experience, everyday rhythm of life. So I think I described it quite in brief. If you are interested to read details, I can give you the files. But something that I want to share with you, there was positive feedback from foreign colleagues. We are now preparing an application, but I haven't seen at least one rejection from people who I applied to. Firstly, these were German colleagues, these were curators and institutions, and these were the people who I wanted to see among the participants. These are also the Polish counterparts. So, in fact, my task is to actually reassure Ukrainians that they need to participate in this project, which I didn't expect actually. But it's a bit going tough. Maybe it's about that I live in between Germany, Poland, and Ukraine for the last 3 years, or maybe it is connected with some other reason. But I think that this statement that we have to find common points and to create space for interaction is a marker of being engaged. And this is basically the main thing that I wanted to communicate during my speech. Are there any questions to Polina? Then I will ask Zhenya to share her experience. Last year, when we had workshops, we talked about the question of how to work with those who are abroad, how to involve them, who should represent who. And Zhenya has great experience of how to use inclusion to the colleagues abroad. I will start with a short introduction of the organization. Our organization was founded in 2019 at the initiative of the museum, The Territory of Terror, and also our Czech colleagues. I joined the organization in 2022. It happened so that the team was renewed fully, and we started working right after the invasion. And during the first 6 months, we were trying to form a team, and we are trying to reinvent the wheel and try to understand how the team should work, because you cannot rely on people who travel around all the time. And it was all about working in the virtual space because people worked remotely during the lockdown. We got used to this format, but in our case, we are doing the oral archiving, it's memory of nations, and this historical archive is gathering evidence from the entire world. It was founded in Prague about 20 years ago, and it is a polythematical archive now. And we are not only collecting these interviews, we are processing them, and we transform them into different cultural, education, and promotional projects. In 2022, we started to work. And as an organizer of the team and designer of the project, I was thinking in which circumstances we ended up. Everyone is hypermobile, that's a fact. There is a gap of different experiences for those who stayed and for those who went abroad, for those who went to the front line, those who lost their relatives. There is a lack of qualified personnel. This is what we felt, because those who had new languages, those who had little kids, they were afraid. And that was an important factor. And they all moved abroad. And the biggest part of those people are still staying there. And also this there was also the loss of audience. So when I had to deal with different events abroad, I could see people among the audience who never came to the cultural events, and they just came to establish the contact with their natives. And the only message I could use, it was like that they were welcome. And these are the preconditions for our work in all the projects. We try to involve someone from abroad to the project team, because how can we build a network to do something together? How to maintain relationship to do something together? This is more complicated in terms of logistics and for many other reasons. It's all about increasing the time to communicate, to reach understanding. But in my personal opinion, we are enriched by this because at the same time we receive different viewpoints and different levels of sensitivity to the same topic. A particular project, this is last year project that was devoted to Kramatorsk through the prism of women's experience from Donetsk region. And we were trying to describe in different formats about the region and what is Ukraine. And we had different products in this project, among them a movie, a 40-minute movie that is a typical standard format for postbellum. This is not a classical documentary, but this is based on some interviews, some complicated interviews when it comes to Ukrainian witnesses. And we involved Olga Povorosnik, a producer who moved abroad at the beginning of the full-scale invasion to Germany, and she is staying there. But as a producer, she worked with this topic of women's memory. So for her personally, this topic is very close and important. And regardless of the fact that she wasn't involved in video production, video recording, we involved her a bit later. It was a complicated work for her because she listened through a lot of interviews, but thanks thanks to the fact that we invited her, that was taken out from our context. And since she is not used to these stories, she had this super sensitivity, and she managed to make it this movie a good first step. And it was demonstrated in many countries. We were looking for partner organization in each city where we showed the movie, who would be interested with IDPs, because the movie included fragments that are about occupation and deoccupation of Kramatorsk in 2014. This is not very well-known story, and right now it doesn't look really threatening in comparison what we experienced later on. But it seems to me that in 2022 there was this common point and the possibility to discuss what had happened in 2014 with our women from Kramatorsk. And for example, when we have Uzhhorod, Lviv, Drohobych, and through this partners organization, we try to work out to shape our audience so that we will have IDPs and local viewers. And this movie became a kind of introduction to these therapeutic discussions. I'm really thankful to our colleagues, facilitators. One of them was the heroine of the movie. She is a cultural manager from Kramatorsk. Another one is a researcher and sociologist. They conducted these discussions, and the impact and the interest from the series of those events was based on the fact that we managed to involve a person from outside, but who was emotionally ready to understand, and also people from local communities who work with these challenges, face these challenges every day, and they could use this movie as an introduction to a conversation, because this movie doesn't give any answers. It just poses a question and creates a space where you can raise this question. Some of people said it was their first time that they could discuss their experience, a very long forgotten experience in public. And I think involving stakeholders from different levels, national, international, I think it's a great opportunity to see the topic from different perspectives, because we have this narrow-mindedness due to situation that we are in. And if we focus our attention on the same topic, we get used to it. But here, contrary to our expectation, we have polyphony, which would be impossible to be achieved in other cases. So right now, we do the same. We involve different colleagues from different countries. So we have our producer from the next project drinking coffee with colleagues in London, and these logistic challenges that we are overcoming are worth it, because we have so many people involved, those people who have different viewpoints. Thank you. I think during dinner you will be able to discuss more details. And Yuliya, I want to move a bit so that you are more visible. Yuriy. So we were about to talk about residencies, about the opportunities at residencies as media and platforms, and share our response to the questions that you posed to us. What are the values that we as initiatives or organizations pursue? And this is about thinking what the society is. And we also think that the society and transformation, these are interconnected things, but the transformation can be both realized and not realized. and the realization of processes that are taking place and involvement of different viewpoints. These are those opportunities that the residency provides. I think I should add that residency is considered as a space for cooperation, but it's not only about cooperation, but building up common space, common landscape that can consist of quite complicated issues. And the situation with the full-scale invasion, it has introduced its corrections. So there is a part of people who moved abroad and those who stay in Ukraine. It also adds up to organizational challenges because not all Ukrainian artists can come here or live abroad. Not artists from abroad can come to Ukraine. This is also a challenge, but what is important for us is to maintain connections on the local level within small communities, because it was one of the main components of the principle of our work in the residency, that the artists from abroad can integrate into local communities and create something together. The war made it more difficult for everyone, but we are trying to find another models that will provide us with the chance to build this network, these complicated connections for cooperation, but the very format of residency is undergoing some changes as well, and it's combined with the exhibition this year, and it's easier to bring the artist to a certain space, and it brings some freedom. Also, we can involve artists from abroad because not all grant providers allow for bringing artists to Ukraine because there are certain risks. My colleague will talk about a complicated exhibition that has elements of exposure and residency. For us, it was also a kind of challenge how to have an exhibition of Ukrainian and international artists from abroad and how to be within residency. I think another important thing is communication. We are talking a lot about separate initiatives, and the residency is an opportunity for communication and connection and the exchange of information within the ecosystem.
And we also talk here about the very important connection between us, between artistic and social processes as well. Yeah, I would like to make a remark here just to make it more clear. We have three different experiences. So that's the first within a local context, the work of international artists. And every context requires a certain detailized framework or the network of these connections, so that there would be win-win both for the artist and for the society itself. So sometimes things happen out of sudden, especially when there is some challenge, there should be the reaction. But I think there can be some unexpected things both for the organizers and for the artists. But every challenge is an opportunity to grow. And here it's all about the communication, about interaction, both with the local experts, artists. So they have to address and look for the answers for the difficult questions. So I think that culture really sets the foundations for such complex issues. Another key thing is a cooperation or interaction between the bottom initiatives, so those there should be this connection between state institutions, and residencies can give this opportunity. Yes, we need to be in contact with artists and also at the local organizations in other countries. So that's very important on the prep stage, especially when we announce the artists that they will come from different contexts. We have to be aware of this context. And sometimes the work with the organizations can take even more time, like 3, 4, 5 years. And when we have this understanding that yeah, we understand that we're working for the common good, and yeah, even though we can have different values, but we understand the aim of the common good. So that's important for the Ukraine, that there is value, but there is the common good, and how ready we are to invest in the common good. So that's the kind of long process, because there are some things that are relevant for Moldova, but they are irrelevant for Ukraine, or maybe we just do not understand them, and vice versa. So therefore, this moment to understand what is common good and why it is important to do this way and not the other. Yeah, we need time to digest that. So where are we? Yeah, residency has to be perceived as the flexible tool to implement all these possibilities and opportunities. And I would like to say that finally we got down to it on the basis of understanding that we physically didn't have something. For example, we lacked spaces. And when we had this problem, we sometime rethought the residency as a place where artists are invited. So we didn't have such a space. We had only idea with us that we had this idea that we need to have such a space where the opportunities have. Do you need a screen? No. We do not need a screen and people will fall asleep. We would like to make it more dynamic like this. Okay, we chose actually the picture which is like, it's not speaking actually. Yeah, there was a picture showing the work from the last residency. It's quite speaking picture, but we are not going to show it. All right. By the way, I wanted to add that culture gives more vivid perception, because on the cultural level, we can have certain contexts closer, but at the cultural economy level, they can be different. So this is what we see in the state policy. So that's important to have the understanding of our common goals and common values, because sometimes the political, economical, and other relevances sometimes hamper us to have the clear vision of the reality. Yeah, quite often today I heard about the tunnel vision. But yeah, we have many interesting things which are interested not only to our neighbors, but also to some other people. So we need to understand that we have this opportunity, we have this experience. 3 years of the war, not every country can cope with that, but culture at certain time, I mean, those who organized many NGOs in Ukraine. So that was the chance to build this local network inside of the countries, owing to which, and I remember Lviv at the beginning of March 2022, I remember our Lviv main railroad. So that was, there where the whole cooperation started. And so, yeah, we have some things we didn't understand even now, the value of it, but I think that for the other societies, it's pretty vivid. So our Ukrainian cases will be understood. It's just a matter of time. So here we can share what we have. And what is important to me is it's just to highlight this and to accentuate how important it is to set up these networks of connections. So build up these locals not only inside of Ukraine but also abroad. Let's stay interconnected with those who are abroad. So we just do not understand the full potential of such opportunity. As today we have many people abroad, our refugees, so it's our strength, in fact. So we are here, but those people who are right now abroad, they are our ambassadors. But coming back to the common good, which unfortunately is not that clearly discussed in Ukraine, but we do have this common good for the country, for the state, so we need to defend the interests of those who are right now, our Ukrainians who are abroad. So this connection is very important. So thank you, Simon, thanks to other colleagues. So the initiative, assembly initiative, is still alive, so it's great. That is not over in 2022. We have 2025 now, but the idea is moving on, and it would be good to have more people on board just to keep push forward and promote assembly. Thank you, Yuliya, Polina, Zhenya, and Yuriy. Thank you very much. I give a round of applause to our panelists. I will give my final remark, like 2 minutes. So when I was in the US, the residence, I tried to research some weird practices. For example, basic universal income for artists, which is based only on the geographical aspect. So artist has just to live in certain state or city. This artist will receive in course of 2 years kind of remuneration, which is unlimited and not stimulated. It's just because a person lives there in this region. So, and how it influences on the ecosystem. And also other practices when, for example, artists can be included on a part-time basis to the state institutions without clear understanding of what they need to do. For example, State of New York has an artist who shows up in the office twice a week. So he can be just roam around, give some comments, interact. So yeah, we like it. Yes, it worked. So very often I ask this question about time, about what is topical, what is relevant, because when you start talking about the war, such things are difficult to be solved. So they are, I also think that when there will be better time, then we will have the post-war reconstruction, there will be something else. So I think we have just to be brave in these project ideas. We have just to be creative. Ola, I'm gonna give the mic to you. When you mentioned this, that artists are roaming around American institutions, you had just to answer to this guy who asked you, you should answer like, yeah, we made it. I feel your pain because my first culture diplomacy event in Hamburg 2022, I had a speech there, and as a result I was asked, do you have any artists like Picasso or other style who have to be evacuated from Ukraine, etc. Or maybe is there anyone else we need to defend? So I started my cultural diplomacy back then, and it lasts for 3 years. But I think that everything that which is being discussed now is not about kind of annihilation. No, it's about how we matured, how we growed from our first event in March 2022 up till today. There were lots of different events over this time. Many initiatives have been implemented, which are still ongoing, which are launched. Particularly, for example, UNESCO have their representative office in Ukraine. Maybe a lot of things that can be mentioned. So I think that over this time we really did a lot, and we have we do not need to have this reboot or reset. That's how I calm myself down. So when I feel sad, I have the whole list of the important things that we did. I just open this list and read that through just to lift me up. All right. So I also liked that when we had workshops, do you remember this period when we had this brainstorm session, like what to answer when we feel this pain, what we have to answer foreigners when we feel the pain. So I think that from that time, we also grew up and we know what to answer because, yeah, we just continue answering the same questions. I have a dream, finally. So if we manage to have this assembly in a year, let's invite Sapolsky here. Simon is out, you see. It's been recorded, yeah. Everything is in the YouTube. Okay, let's do it. So, is there anyone who would like to say something? Of course, please. I have one idea. May I ask you, like, briefly, for everyone to answer? So, what's the current annual budget of your organization? How many sources of funding, if you could name them? And so, do you have institutional grant? I mean, each of you, or this is just project grant? It's kind of blitz answer. Short answer, please. Everyone is recorded on the record. Okay, this year, we have 3 project grants, and we have a kind of luxury. If we do not cover our activities with grants, we have support from the Czech organization. This year, funding resources are House of Europe. That's the infrastructural grant, one international grant, and also annual project from the Foreign Ministry of Czech Republic, the transition program. We have it for the second time, and we apply in cooperation with Czech partner, even though the 90% of the resources are implemented in Ukraine. So that's the life hack that I can share with you. Dependent partnership really allows Ukrainian organization teamed up with the good partners. Yeah, that's the benefit you can have while applying for the European fundings. Because when we see the range of the budget which has been offered with us, is something uncomparable. My case is not relevant. I'm a freelancer. I don't have NGO. The project that I mentioned will have institutional partner. That's the German branch of the International Theatre Institute. So that will be the key beneficiary grant from the Ministry of Culture of Germany, the annual grant, but also there will be other institutions involved from Poland and Germany as well. This exhibition was possible thanks to the Gallery of Arsenal in Białystok is a municipal institution and receives funding for the exhibition, and we are the partners. So we had this chance to implement it. Usually, these are grants from European institutions. I also would like to say that for the last 3-5 years, we didn't take any Ukrainian financing from state institutions, and that's because of the internal processes in Ukraine. I know that you are well aware of that, but I would like to be frank. We just stopped interacting with Ukrainian resources, Ukrainian funds who enable those endeavors. Les maybe wants to say something. Les, please unveil your budget sources. Yeah, we hear you loud and clear. Yeah, we live from project to project, from grant to grant. Right now we have open, big grant program that we have been implementing. We do not have institutional financing. We tried, but unfortunately failed for the time being. Maybe some, it was some people were not reluctant to give us institutional grants. And conclusions, because we started our morning on optimistic note. Oh no, we started our morning with tears, like no money, no one can do anything. But right now we see 5 independent initiatives, and you make it by different means. You implement your creative things, you make influences. So I have the hypothesis, if such initiatives would be implemented by support of the Ministry of Culture of Ukraine, I'm sure that all of your projects wouldn't be competitive on European market. They will just fulfill state order. So it's not bad that you do not have Ukrainian financing. It stimulates culture, diplomacy, you know what I mean. All right. So what I have in mind is that when we try to, what the state in war has to give us, they have to give us good army and deterrence. So that's the key basic things that our country has to provide us with. Upon these conditions, we can make our country stronger. So therefore, we have to be honest with ourselves. Yes, we are capable. Whenever we push hard, yes, we have the result. Zhenya mentioned to me that, yeah, we can even, give donations to the army. Yeah, we can do it. So let's not appeal to the state. Let them do their basic functions. Later on, we will just add everything to the bill, eventually, after the war. I will be brief. I have something to answer because, yeah, we can do it, but until we still have frustration, which is evolving, especially from the partner side. They want interaction. They turn to Ukrainian side, and they receive denial. So it also hampers their relationship. So we have this partnership, but it looks like I'm only the one on behalf of the Ukrainian part. So it's my relationship with the international partners, my trust they have with me. But I do not have a lot of weight on my shoulders. I understand that Ukrainian institutions, with their backing, yes, I would feel stronger. But it looks like our international partners would say, like, next time come with the Ukrainian money as well. So we do not know what will be the duration of this international relationship. I want to mention the experience with the state institutions. Yes, we didn't look up to anything specific, but one of our colleagues saw the call from the Ministry of Youth and Sport of Ukraine. So the enhancement of identity, etc. Yeah, we applied for that.
There were big budgets, about 300,000 of hryvnias per project. We applied so that based on the interview with dissidents and public activists to produce the series of videos so that to explain to teenagers why it's important to be publicly active and how it helped to maintain Ukrainian identity. We were competitive. We competed with other applicants. We got 128th prize. Of the whole pitching looked like the questions from the people of representing accounting, and they were asking which budget line you have to refuse from. They wanted us to give up a designer and so on, but you enjoy it. Why do you need to pay for them? If we won this award, this grant, I would refuse to participate, to get the grant, because we would suffer if the whole budget was it was about financing games, but otherwise, yeah, it was not really good. Apart from state budget, we have municipalities, and some cities have million budgets. And it's very interesting if to have a look at the industrial cities. So it's not only about addressing to the state, we have municipalities, and we have those cities that are quite well to do even during the war. So at the next, we will invite the people from accounting department for the next assembly, because without them we will not be successful. I'm really sorry for this question. I didn't get it maybe during today. Do we have to unite our efforts and get into the Ministry of Culture or not? If I may allow, this question with the state, with the Ministry of Culture, and how to get funds, it doesn't require more than the algorithm of using your common sense. The current system is discriminatory to those who get grants because it requests too much bureaucracy and reporting, and it is not flexible. But at the same time, the state has to fund our culture. That's their responsibility. We fulfill our responsibilities. So the state cannot blame us for being inflexible. So that's why I think that we don't have an easy path. The response is complicated. We have to explain the role, our role. We have to pressurize the state into simplifying procedures so that the system of distributing funds would be similar to a grant one, and the state shouldn't micromanage. For example, the people shouldn't be checked for corruption if they received only 50,000 of hryvnias. I think we should unite our efforts and deliver our message to the Ministry of Culture. But I think your question was quite good. Tomorrow we will talk a lot about the international cooperation and discuss the role of our ministry. But I have the same question. I thought we needed to unite and pressurize, but what leverage can we use so we do not worsen the situation? But sometimes our ministries come to Germany, and there was a case, our Minister of Culture doesn't even know about a single initiative, and then the Ministry of Culture in Germany talks about the Ukrainian initiatives that are already working. It's not about actually Volodya, but then the question how to communicate. And there was a case of colleagues from the German museums when they mailed the Ministry of Culture, but they didn't get a response. So it's all about the question of communication and pressure, but these questions are important. And some things are not simply solved with NGOs, and you cannot do something without the ministries and institutions. You cannot have equal partnerships with certain institution. This question is about the evolution of trust. So here we have a very trustful atmosphere because we use different citations, and I think Simon would be happy to hear that in Nova 1, which is a bit further away, there is a video broadcasting of the movie. What's the name of the movie? I don't remember. Let the Body Speak, which is highly recommended to watch. So we will have dinner in the cafe opposite where we can discuss the movie. And Katya, if you don't have any important insights that you would like to share, then we can go to have dinner. When it comes to tomorrow, maybe Bożena, can you mention a few words about tomorrow's plans?
Simon, I will say about tomorrow, right?
So tomorrow, at the end of the day, we will have a live concert, Mariana Klochko and Alexei Podach. So we booked seats, and I will ask Nat to collect the names of people, of those who want to attend the concert, because for us it's important. If there are not enough participants, then you can address Simon to get a ticket. So either do it today in the evening or tomorrow in the morning, because if there are not enough people, we will just give back the tickets. And Nova 1 is opposite the Green Anger, and you can watch the movie there up till 7 o'clock in the evening. It will not be available tomorrow. Thank you to all the panelists and all of you. Thank you.